Most people believe self-discipline is a personal flaw or a moral failure. They think if they just tried harder, pushed more, or shamed themselves enough, they would finally become disciplined. This belief is not only wrong, it's harmful. Willpower is not a character trait. It's a limited biological resource. When you rely on willpower, you are building your life on something that weakens under stress, fatigue, hunger, emotion, and distraction. If your system requires constant self-control, it will eventually break. The truth is that the most disciplined people are not fighting stronger urges. They are fighting fewer battles. They don't wake up every day deciding whether to do the right thing. They've already decided. Their environment, routines, and defaults quietly guide their behavior in the right direction. Discipline, at its highest level, is not effortful, it is engineered. Every temptation you allow into your environment becomes a tax on your attention. A phone filled with notifications will eventually be checked. Junk food in the kitchen will eventually be eaten. A cluttered workspace will eventually dilute focus. You don't need more self-control, you need fewer triggers. The simplest way to improve discipline is to remove the option to fail. This is not weakness. This is intelligence. You don't test your willpower by standing next to the fire. You move away from the fire. When you reduce the number of decisions you have to make, discipline stops feeling heavy. Decision fatigue is real. Each small choice drains mental energy, and by the end of the day, the brain looks for the easiest reward. That's when bad habits win. The solution is not motivation. The solution is pre-commitment. Decide in advance how you will live, and then let your systems execute that decision automatically. What you eat when you work, how you train, and when you rest should not be daily debates. They should be defaults. Defaults are powerful because the brain prefers the path of least resistance. If the healthy option is easier than the unhealthy one, you will choose it without effort. If your workout clothes are laid out the night before, you are more likely to train. If your savings are automated, you don't rely on discipline to build wealth. If your work time is blocked and protected, focus becomes the natural outcome. You are not forcing yourself to behave well. You are making good behavior the easiest behavior. This approach shifts discipline from the emotional mind to the structural mind. Emotions fluctuate, structure remains. A well-designed system doesn't care how you feel. It works on good days and bad days alike. This is why habits outperform motivation every time. Habits are compressed decisions. Once formed, they remove the need for constant internal negotiation. There is also a quiet relief that comes from reducing the need for willpower. When you stop battling yourself, your mind becomes calmer. Energy that was once wasted on resistance becomes available for creativity, learning, and deep work. Discipline no longer feels like restriction. It feels like freedom. You are no longer reacting to impulses. You are living according to design. In the end, self-discipline is not about becoming stronger. It is about becoming smarter. You win not by overpowering your mind, but by aligning your environment with your values. When the right actions are the default, discipline becomes effortless and progress becomes inevitable. Most people approach discipline as an external battle. They wait for motivation, then try to force themselves into action. When motivation disappears, so does discipline. This happens because force is fragile. It depends on mood, energy, and circumstance. Identity, on the other hand, is stable. When discipline is aligned with who you believe you are, action becomes natural. You stop negotiating with yourself because there is nothing to debate. Every behavior is an expression of identity. You don't act randomly. You act in accordance with the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you believe you are inconsistent, you will act inconsistently. If you believe you lack discipline, your actions will quietly confirm it. The mind seeks coherence. It will always try to behave in a way that matches self-image. This is why discipline rooted in identity is far more powerful than discipline rooted in pressure. The shift is subtle but profound. Instead of asking, "Do I feel like doing this today?" you ask, "What does someone like me do?" This question bypasses emotion and goes straight to principle. A person who identifies as healthy doesn't debate whether to exercise. A person who identifies as a professional doesn't wait to feel inspired before working. The action flows from identity, not effort. Identity is not created through affirmation. It is created through evidence. Small, consistent actions are how identity is built. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, even a minor one, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who follows through. Each time you break a promise, you weaken that belief. Discipline compounds not just results, but self-trust. Once self-trust is established, discipline becomes self-reinforcing. This is also why extreme goals often fail. They demand a level of behavior that is inconsistent with current identity. The gap feels too large, so the mind resists. The smarter approach is to lower the action until it is undeniable. One push-up. 1 page, 1 minute. The action should be so small that skipping it would feel out of character. Over time, these small actions accumulate into a strong identity that no longer requires force. There is another layer to this alignment. Discipline becomes sustainable when it is tied to long-term peace rather than short-term reward. Short-term pleasure feels good now but creates future tension. Missed workouts, avoided conversations, and delayed responsibilities all create mental debt. Discipline is simply the act of paying that debt early at a discount. When you see discipline as a path to peace rather than punishment, resistance dissolves. A calm mind does not rebel against structure. It welcomes it. When your actions align with your values and identity, there is no internal friction. You are not dragging yourself forward. You are moving in the direction you already believe is right. This alignment creates a quiet confidence. You stop seeking external validation because your behavior matches your self-image. In the end, discipline is not about control. It is about coherence. When who you are and what you do are aligned, discipline stops feeling like effort. It becomes expression. And when discipline becomes expression, consistency is no longer a struggle. It is simply who you are. Most people fail at discipline not because they are lazy, but because they are exhausted. They believe discipline is about pushing harder, staying rigid, and never slowing down. This mindset confuses intensity with consistency. Discipline that depends on constant effort will eventually collapse. Sustainable discipline is built on leverage and rest, not brute force. Leverage allows you to get results without proportional effort. It is the quiet multiplier behind all long-term success. In the context of discipline, leverage means designing systems that continue to work even when motivation is low. Routines, habits, schedules, and automation are forms of leverage. They remove the need for repeated decisions and conserve mental energy. Once established, they operate in the background, producing results with minimal input. A routine is a decision you make once and reuse forever. When you wake up at the same time, work at the same hours, and train on the same days, discipline becomes predictable. Predictability removes friction. The mind likes certainty. When actions are expected, they feel lighter. You are no longer asking yourself whether to act. You are simply following a pattern that has already been chosen. Leverage also comes from using tools that scale your effort. Written plans clarify thinking so you don't waste energy deciding what to do next. Checklists prevent mental overload. Technology can automate reminders, savings, learning, and even behavior tracking. The goal is not to do more, but to think less about doing what already matters. Every ounce of cognitive effort you save can be redirected toward creativity, problem solving, and deep focus. But leverage alone is not enough. Without rest, even the best systems fail. A fatigued mind loses perspective. It seeks comfort, shortcuts, and escape. When energy is low, discipline feels like punishment. This is why sleep, recovery, and downtime are not luxuries. They are prerequisites for self-control. A well-rested mind does not argue with good habits, it executes them. Rest is not idleness, it is maintenance. Just as muscles grow during recovery, discipline strengthens when the nervous system is calm. Sleep resets judgment, silence restores clarity, time away from stimulation allows the mind to settle. When you protect your energy, discipline stops feeling heavy because you are no longer fighting internal chaos. Many people sabotage discipline by ignoring this balance. They overwork, undersleep, and consume constant stimulation, then blame themselves for lack of consistency. This is backwards. Discipline is easier when your baseline state is stable. Emotional regulation, clear thinking, and impulse control all depend on physical and mental rest. There is also leverage in choosing the right pace. Slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. When you move at a pace you can sustain, discipline becomes reliable. Burnout is not a sign of ambition. It is a sign of poor system design. The goal is not maximum output today, but steady output over decades. When leverage and rest work together, discipline becomes self-sustaining. Systems guide behavior. Rest replenishes energy. Together, they eliminate the need for constant self-policing. You are no longer forcing yourself to stay disciplined. You are simply maintaining the conditions that make discipline inevitable. In the end, discipline is not about domination. It is about harmony. When your systems are smart and your energy is protected, discipline becomes a natural consequence of how your life is designed. And when discipline is natural, progress is no longer a struggle. It is the default. Self-discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about being intelligent with your design. When you remove temptation, align with identity, and use leverage, discipline becomes natural. And when discipline becomes natural, freedom becomes inevitable. Thank you.